Personal data has become a big business as people's digital lives have expanded along with technology. From companies using analytics to find the best way to sell you their product or service, to political organizations trying to find out what issues are important. But while you may know your data is valuable, you may not realize how at risk it is of being stolen in a data breach. To address these concerns, there are several issues that need to be understood. First, what breaches are. Secondly, the way they may happen. Third, what you can do about it if it happens to you. And fourth, what we as a community can and should do to protect ourselves from it. This is just a brief overview of what our slides are about. We're going to cover what is a server, a data breach, and Elasticsearch, followed by who uses Elasticsearch, the largest data breaches in history, Elasticsearch breach examples, breaches of breaches, why so many breaches come from Elasticsearch, what can they do, what can you do if you're affected, data and the law, our expectations, our changing privacy, and finally, the conclusion. Pretty much everyone's heard the word server thrown around before, maybe in the context of a video game or website. But what is a server exactly? A server is a computer that's used to provide services to other devices and computers. A server can provide its service to one computer or a whole lot of computers. There's really no limit besides what the hardware can handle. Some examples of the services are hosting websites, file servers, email servers, and video game servers. There's really a lot of services that can be provided. When it comes to data breaches specifically, private or personal data storage is what people are after. A simplified explanation of a data breach is that it is an unauthorized access to information by people who aren't supposed to be messing with it. Normally this happens due to poor security or some kind of cyber attack. The focus of this lecture is mostly about Elasticsearch servers, but a data breach can happen on pretty much any kind of device or service. Not all of these breaches are reported. It's suspected that we only actually learn about a small portion of the ones that happen, as keeping the breach hidden benefits the perpetrators and in some cases, the providers. But we do know about some of the breaches. For example, between 2005 and 2019, there were about 11,239 breaches with a minimum of 15 million records each. So what is Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch isn't a physical device. It's a software that's used as a service. It's used to store, organize, and search through large sets of data. To specifically define it, we can say Elasticsearch is a database software that doesn't require a schema or homemade search and organization algorithms to parse through the data, making it easy to find useful data points and create relationships. The software has both a paid and a free version. It's open source, highly scalable, and they offer it for both on-site use and through the cloud service such as Amazon AWS. It is an amazing software that makes it simple to manage and manipulate large sets of data without front-loading tons of database work. So who uses Elasticsearch? There are many companies that use Elasticsearch, such as Microsoft, Slack, Instacart, GitHub, SoundCloud, Codecademy, Robinhood, and many more. Next, we are going to talk about the largest data breaches in history. Here are 4 breaches of note due to their size. Even the smallest breach recorded here is measured in the billions of user records, compromising what is essentially countries' worth of people-sensitive user records. Some of the records may be repeated in the second datum, as it was a breach of breaches, which we'll discuss in a bit in an upcoming slide as its own issue. These are a few of the largest breaches that have been reported. There are many, many more, and it is good to be able to visualize how damaging just a few of them can be. Here are some specific instances of Elasticsearch server breaches from the last few years. In November 2018, 57 million records from an unknown company. In July 2019, 2 billion records of user data in China. In August 2019, a Canadian company lost 2.5 million records of user PLL information. In December 2019, 5 Elasticsearch servers owned by Microsoft lost 250 million user records. And lastly, in February 2020, a French company lost 123 million records with unencrypted usernames and passwords. A few slides back, I made a statement about how some of the data may have been duplicated between different specific breaches. This is a specific example of exactly what that means. In March 2020, an Elasticsearch server owned by a cybersecurity company was found open to the web. This server contained around 5 billion records that were compiled datasets from previously known server breaches since 2005. All the data from the previous breaches were combined together in a database that was easy to organize and search. Being an Elasticsearch server, the data was specifically set up to provide easy access to unsavory individuals. While it may seem like less of a big deal since the data was already part of a previous breach, the fact is a lot of users never find out their privacy and data has been compromised, so the issue remains. So why do so many of these breaches happen through Elasticsearch? The main reason we see so many breaches of Elasticsearch servers is because people don't understand or think to worry about its security. There are some issues that this can stem from, though. Only the paid version of Elasticsearch offers the easily configurable remote access and security features via XPack. Since the software can be used for free, it's often used by people unaware of these security concerns. Remote access being authorized also makes unauthorized access possible if you don't properly set up the server security. People may believe that the company they rent their hardware from, such as AWS, may be taking care of the security for them. It isn't just inexperienced and/or uninformed users. An earlier example of breaches slide shows us that even cybersecurity experts can have lapses in security that cause these services to be vulnerable. Elastic as a company goes to pretty decent lengths to inform users through its Elasticsearch documentation and default setup. But while they aren't at fault for security issues per se, with the way the market views their software as an easy-to-use solution, there are some possible changes they can make. First, the issues caused by misconfigured servers should be made more clear. Secondly, a repeating timed security check when a server is insecure would possibly place a higher importance on correcting the issue. And third, a larger focus on not just showing how to set, but to understand why when it comes to security settings. Then, as a user of the software, there are some things you can focus on if you're using the software. First, a purposeful focus on why security is important and how to enable it. Second, quickly correcting issues and being open about when a breach does happen. And third, an effort to enable multiple layers of security when it comes to PLL information. What can you do if you're affected? If you've been affected by one of these breaches, there are some steps you can take back some of your digital privacy. First of all, you need to find out if you're part of a known breach. Make sure to monitor for emails notifying you by provider and mail. A more forward way to look is to check haveibeenpawned.com, a website dedicated to allowing people to check if account names and emails have been compromised. After that, you can take some or all of these steps, but preferably all of them. Change your passwords. You can focus on accounts that you know are compromised, but it wouldn't hurt to change them all. For accounts that offer it, set up two-factor authentication for an extra layer of security. If your payment or banking information was compromised, contact your bank and the 3 credit monitoring agencies and let them know there may be fraudulent charges. Be vigilant about making sure any messages you get are authentic and monitor your outgoing messages. These actions won't completely undo being compromised, but they may lessen any effects of being included in such a breach. The very best thing you can do for your privacy is to be aware that there is risk to putting your info online no matter the site, and to be vigilant about checking to see if your accounts are in known breaches. There have been a lot of changes to the laws surrounding data breaches, and even without these changes, the laws are relatively new. For example, the first law was laid in California in 2002, and the most recent in Alabama in just 2018. Every state does have a law, and while it's good the step has been taken, many see them as inadequate for their intended purpose. Some of these issues are delayed reporting of incidents, minimum required individuals, usually anything over 1,000 people, antiquated ideas for what data is considered compromising. Some states are only required to notify if they believe there might be fraud. Reporting may not be required if the data is encrypted in any way. Again, while making legislation on the issue is a positive, there's still a tremendous amount of work to be done to make laws clear and effective. The last few years have seen growing concern about how companies obtain and use our private data that's entrusted to them. Some of these concerns are analytics, ransomware, ad targeting, identity theft, phishing, manipulation, and spam. These issues shape our expectations for online privacy, and our current expectations may be inadequate for the current state of the internet. Our current expectations are not only unenforceable, but also unclear. In the previous slide, we talked about how our current expectations for data privacy were not only ambiguous, but basically unenforceable, since we don't even have a guaranteed notification of breaches. By making a clear statement about what we expect for this privacy, we can work on demanding the change needed to handle the situation when it occurs. These are some expectations that could possibly help us protect our privacy. First, the definition of what private data is needs to be updated to include relationally identifying information, such as usernames. Second, it should be made clear who is getting access to our private data and a general why. Third, if there is a breach, the affected people should be notified immediately, regardless of the number of people involved. And last, there should always be an option to prevent personal data from being transferred to a third party. Devices like servers and services like Elasticsearch aren't the main problem. They provide an amazing opportunity to change the way we interact with every aspect of our world, both real and digital. With that opportunity come real risks that should be managed at a commensurate rate by everyone involved. The first step in that management is for provider, consumer, and lawmaker to be purposeful in understanding issues with data breaches, so that informed decisions can be made to protect people from them. The second step is for everyone to know that they're being affected by this issue. The third step is what they can do if their data has been compromised. Next, the what and the why of the laws and how they need to change. And finally, how our expectations of privacy and data security need to change to keep up with evolving technology and its uses. And finally, some questions for you. When it comes to a bottom line, each and every one of you are the individuals involved and affected by data breaches. So your positions and choices are the ones that matter when it comes to the issue. It's important to really think about your expectations of privacy and how your private data should be handled. These are some questions to help focus or narrow forming these opinions. How long do you think companies should legally have to report breaches? Should they be held liable for having unsecure user data? How comfortable are you with companies you might not even know the name of being able to create a file about you from the information you give to another company? How have your social expectations changed as technology has progressed? Do these data breaches change at all? Thank you.